What what episode is this?
Lots. We've never, most podcasts have like seasons that like we just have one big season of 300 and
Yes,
something episodes.
yes, we do.
359.
Damn. All right, everybody, welcome to the 359th edition of the Holy Backboard Podcast. I am Dustin here in Rip City, and I got my man.
Sage kicking it live in Beaverton, Oregon, doing another afternoon podcast. I guess 4 o'clock is early evening, but we are doing a podcast where if injury news happens, we can talk about it, which is pretty interesting because the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trail Blazers are playing tonight. So this is going to be your early introduction to this Jazz Blazers game where two of the worst teams playing each other.
Before we get into the thick of things, did you know it was Thanksgiving next week?
No way. Seriously?
Yes way. Yes way.
Oh God.
Give me your three Thanksgiving desserts that you don't have to rank them, just like you get three and that's it. What are you taking home with you?
We're not really a dessert family, so like pumpkin pie. Um, yeah, I think I'm just gonna sweet potato pie, like that type, like the fall themed desserts, like the fall flavored desserts. I watched I've been watching holiday baking championship with my mom, so I'm learning like fall flavors or Christmas flavors. So like those fall flavored desserts is kind of where I'm at. Like, yeah, we're mostly just a savory family. So the dessert thing, it's kind of like we get something at Costco and then we eat the thing from Costco.
Desserts are the best part of Thanksgiving for me. I gotta go pecan pie number one. I mean that is I think top
All
tier.
flavors.
It is fall flavors. You're right. There's nothing better than having a piece of pecan pie and a cup of coffee for breakfast on Black Friday. I do enjoy a good pumpkin pie, so I would take that. We actually make a pumpkin cheesecake, so I'll put that there. And then usually I think my third would be just any out of the box dessert. Like there is a Vietnamese I believe it's a Vietnamese baker that we found at farmers market, and she's doing like an ube pie with like coconut cream and like it's fantastic. Had the pickup not been out in Beaverton on the day before Thanksgiving, which is the busiest travel day of the year, I would be all over that. So just like things like that, like we've had some of her pies before. So I like tasting other cultures' specialties for the holidays.
Yeah, because I mean, like my mom's family owned restaurants and stuff, and I can't think of a good Chinese restaurant that has like good desserts. It's mostly like the entrees, but other Asian places definitely do. But yeah, we're mostly like stuffing, protein, a lot of carbs. Oh, this year, uh, so my mom's birthday was earlier this month, and I got her this Rhode Island food thing from Iggy's is the restaurant. It's like the best fresh seafood place in Rhode Island. So I got her this you know, this kit of all of Rhode Island food. So there's a thing called clam cakes, which is basically like beignets are sweet donuts. So this is savory with clams in it. So I'm gonna make clam cakes for Thanksgiving as well. So we got all the ingredients. So yeah, I'm gonna make some clam cakes for Thanksgiving next week. Jesus.
I mean, that's what you come to Holy Backboard for, right? Like we talk about a very
Rhode Island centric food.
very hot and cold team. Really no championship aspirations for the near future. It's all about vibes, young talent developing, and just keeping games close. And that's really what the Blazers kind of did this week. Just was a quick 2-game week. You were still +2 on the season. We both went 1-1. We were incorrect. The Kings
Oh, yeah, they did win. Or
came
they did
away with a
lose.
121-118 victory in overtime in Sacramento in a game where Portland completely let that game slip away in the closing minutes, which I will detail more in this episode. And then another game where Portland was down at one point, I believe 91-77. 14 points to the Lakers. No LeBron, but Portland was missing their fair share of talent as well. They got within one, but they could never, ever get over the hump. The Lakers ended up outlasting the Trailblazers 116-110, dropping Portland's record to 3-6 on the season. It's been a series of threes for the Trailblazers to date, 3-game losing streak, followed by a 3-game winning streak, and now a current 3-game losing streak. The standings are way too early. We're not even 10 games in, but Portland would be just on the outside looking in of the plan if they were to start today. But again, it's so early. There's so much newness, and there are dang near 72 more games for teams to kind of separate. So we won't look too closely into that. But Sage, Portland is dealing. I think the first thing we can really talk about before we go into like what we saw this week was, I think we have to touch again on the injury list, because going into last week's episode, it was okay, we're still waiting for Scoot Henderson to return. I believe tomorrow marks 2 weeks since he has been out, and I think he's going to be out for another 1 to 2 weeks. Obviously, Robert Williams underwent successful knee surgery. He is done for the season. Anthony Simons probably still has a month and maybe some change as he recovers from his hand injury. Shaden Sharp's playing through a hand injury right now. If you look at the cast that's on his thumb, Malcolm Brogdon injured his hamstring 5 minutes into the Sacramento game, did not play against the Lakers on Sunday, will not play tonight against the Utah Jazz, and who knows how long he'll be out for. Hamstring injuries are notorious for lingering. And that's, a lot of your firepower if you are the Trailblazers rebuilding or not. You've got your backup center, one of the best defensive bigs in the league. And I would say, probably from the Blazers' point of view, somewhat of a crown jewel to that Damian Lillard trade, and Robert Williams, who's no longer there. You've got Anthony Simons, who potentially could be the next torchbearer from Damian Lillard on the shelf. You've got your prized lottery pick, number 3 overall, Scoot Henderson. We've only seen five games of Scoot. And so when you have a rebuilding team, a lot of the fun is in seeing that young talent rebuild. And when you're not able to see it on the floor, and even if it's not young talent, even a player like Robert Williams, who was a fresh face, he was a prize piece to that trade. You're not seeing him on the court, and now you're not seeing Malcolm Brogdon. It becomes a little bit more of a challenge, I think, for me as a fan to kind of get ramped up or get excited for Blazers basketball. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing Shaden Sharp out there for 40 plus minutes, but like there are a lot of names that if you would have told me we're playing right now, less than 10 games into the season, I would automatically be pressing that red button saying, cue the bat signal. We need to hit restart. What's going on? It does take a little bit of the luster off of the regular season. Like, again, we've talked about this. Wins and losses don't really matter, but development is a huge factor. But when you don't get to see those players you want to watch develop, like Sage, to be honest, there's like 3 players I think that are really worth watching right now, and you've got Grant, Ayton, and Sharp. I mean, we're not really even seeing Rupert or Murray, and I'll throw Jabari Walker. I think he's
I
been
think Jabari's been a
Jabari's
very
been
nice
good,
surprise.
and then I would say Tumani has been a nice surprise, but I think it's more of the fact that he's the second round pick coming out of nowhere. But as I'll also discuss later on, I would like to temper expectations
Thank
on
you.
Kamara as well. So it's a little bit of a bummer that so much of our offseason isn't playing right now. We're not even getting to see the full rebuild on display. It's like not even at half capacity. So like it's going to be a rough go until we can get all at least not all of them will be healthy, but at least we get the majority of the guys back into form, and then we can kind of see what we got and who needs to be moved and who needs to shine, and we can kind of start to make decisions building the roster really for the foreseeable future. Like right now, we're just kind of seeing what we got. We talked about, desserts earlier on. We're kind of trying to make something, but we have some of the ingredients. Some of the ingredients either we ran out, we got to go to the store, we're waiting for them to come back on the shelf. So it's not going to be a finished dessert
The
for
one thing I do
quite
like
some time.
about the scenario where we're going through, it would be so easy for us to tank. I know it's really early in the year, but it would be really easy for us to just not even try. And there are teams that are actively tanking. Like the Washington Wizards are not playing Kuzma more than 30 minutes in a competitive basketball game. Like it is an 8-point game. Like I saw it on Underdog Fantasy. They had like a 90% chance of a win with 7 minutes left, up 14, and they lost. Like,
Dude, they got outscored 21-1 by the Raptors. That's
and I
hard
was
to
watching
do.
that game. Like that
That's also hard to do. I don't know why you're subjecting yourself to Washington Wizards fast.
DFS baby. But
That's a game casting where you just, okay, yeah, he got me points. I more power
when
to
you have
me. I
Pascal
couldn't do it.
Siakam, when you have Pascal Siakam on like 70% of your lineups, you need to look at it the entire time. But like you see Jeremy Grant playing 38, 40 minutes. You see Shaden Sharp playing 38, 40 minutes. At least we're seeing players that are skilled play the game, because I would be like, if they were like the Washington Wizards aren't even playing Ryan Rollins. They're playing these guys who, like, Gallo has a rotation spot. We know what Gallo is. So like at least we're seeing what Tumani can do. At least we're seeing what Shaden Sharp can do with a lot of minutes played, and how well he's doing in like a statistical way. Like, so at least we're seeing it, because we could easily be pulling the plug. Let's see what some of these bums got. At least we get blessed with seeing Shaden Sharp play amazingly large amount of minutes every game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm glad the games are competitive. Definitely keep me on the edge of my seat when I'm listening on the radio and then going back and watching the tape. And it's not just, skip, skip, skip. You're down by 30 like they were against the Clippers and
Yeah.
Sixers earlier on. It's definitely worthwhile to rewatch those games, because it could be really easy just to be like, no, that was a blowout. Let's skip to the next. I would say I am a little concerned that somebody brought it up on Twitter that Shaden Sharp's getting the Jimmy Butler, Tom Thibodeau treatment circa 2012.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. He's playing 40 minutes on an extended,
It's
like,
it's at
every game.
44. It's up there.
So
Like,
he's on that Nick Nurse track right now of just playing everybody. But I mean, like, the one thing that I'm really just hating, like, we're playing our two NBA quality wings a lot, but there's Chris Murray's playing like 5 minutes a game, and I in that Lakers game, I think he had a really really dumb 3-second call, and he never came off the bench after it. Get these guys, these young guys who are on the end of the bench, some minutes, just so you know who is what Chris Murray's about, what Ryan Rupert is about, because them just chilling on the bench really isn't helping. But at least we get to see major minutes of Shaden Sharp.
yeah, that's probably been my biggest complaint is there are Chris Murray minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There have to be. Like, you drafted this guy 20. First of all, you traded Josh Hart, who was a rotational player on a home court advantage contending New York Knicks team.
Mm.
You trade him for a first round pick, falls at 23. I think that's solid value. You take Chris Murray, who was considered by most to be a safe pick, plug and play, ready to go, and he's just stuck behind a few guys. And I don't quite understand the reasoning. I get games have been close, but I mean, you have a first round pick who's 23 years old. Like, he needs to play. Like, it's not like he's 19 years old like Ryan Rupert, who you can, if he doesn't really play more than 100 minutes this season, that's fine, because he's got, the remix. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of untapped potential, but the selling point for Murray was this guy is a 3-and-D floor spacer, like, really just basically
What you need.
what you need. And I honestly do think he could help. I don't think he's the cure all. I I don't think that Portland's offensive struggles are going to be solved by a rookie, but I do think he would alleviate some of the problems that I've been seeing, and a lot of the data has backed it up. Like the biggest thing I put in my notes for this episode was there's just no offensive structure when you watch the Portland Trailblazers. Like I've got League Pass, Ari's teething, so again, I wake up and the Denver Nuggets on, I'm watching the Denver Nuggets. Like you watch them play for a full 48 minutes, even without Jamal Murray. Rarely do they take a shot that leaves you scratching your head. Like they value every possession. They know how to move the basketball. I get it. They have a generational talent. But even when Jokic is off the floor, that is a well-coached, well-oiled machine that knows exactly what they're doing. When you're watching the Trailblazers, really think about what the action is being set up to run, right? Too many times, especially in that Sacramento game, is action is leading to Matisse Thybulle being the one to make the ultimate decision. Whether he's open in the corner for a three, spoiler alert, there's a reason he's being left open, or he's closing out and trying to drive and making a decision, which that is definitely not a strong suit. And
On
to
a set
me,
defense too. It isn't
yeah.
they're not scrambling. They know Matisse is coming and we're
And
gonna
to
block
me,
this.
if the action is to get somebody an open corner three, that's beautiful. It can't be Matisse Thybulle. Like it needs, like that's exactly where I think a Chris Murray could come in, and I would love for him to get those same opportunities that Matisse Thybulle is getting. I think there's
Everybody knows what Matisse is gonna provide a team. Everybody. He's been in the league for a long time. We talked about his draft. I talked about how great he was going to be in zone, where because I saw the future of zone being a thing. Everyone knows what Matisse is. If you're going to trade him, they just need to know, is he healthy? They don't need to be showcasing him. Every bit of the Matisse minutes should go to Chris Murray because we have no idea what he can do in that next level. And when I watch Chris Murray, he's ready to have the ball in his hands. He's ready. His hands are right here, ready to shoot it. His hands are already at his shooting pocket. Like he's ready to go. And when I saw him and Jabari on the court together in those 4 minutes, both of them were ready to take and make shots. You know, Matisse isn't ready. So like, I really, really, really enjoy the preparation that Chris Murray is showing when he's on the court. It's just the ball doesn't swing to him or whatever. And then some really ridiculous mistake that Chris does, and he's on the bench for the entire rest of the game. But when
you
he's in, he's
mentioned
ready.
you mentioned the ball not swinging, and obviously the numbers look terrible across the board for the Trailblazers. They are last in offensive rating at 105.2, last in points per game 106.4. They are an ISO heavy offense. They are last in assists per game, 21.6. 25th in turnovers per game, 16.1. That is a terrible assist to turnover ratio. The spacing is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Only 28% of their points, 28% of their points come from threes. That is 27th in the entire NBA. There's only 30 teams. You have a ISO heavy offense that is not making the extra pass.
Well, just think about
We are
who's doing
fourth.
the ISO stuff now.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
are
even smooth.
fourth in unassisted 2-point field goals. 55.2% of our field goals are unassisted from two. That's showing me that too many times it's a 5 out, or they're just running a high pick and roll and everybody else is standing around. I always tend to watch the opposing broadcast for a plethora of reasons. One, I just don't get subjected to so many ads and it's not as busy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to hear what they have to say about us. I know what Calabro and Hurd are going to say about our guys, and I that's fine. I've been there, done that. I like hearing an outside perspective to kind of get out of my Portland bubble in terms of basketball. So the Kings announcers, like if you go back to watch the game, the 5-minute mark of the third quarter, Grant gets the ball and he's going 1-on-3. And you can see Shaden Sharp ready to catch the ball, calling for the ball. And JG just throws up an awkward off-balance air ball. And the announcers are just like, they're trying so hard not to overly criticize an opposing player, but you could tell how appalled they were by some of the decision makings that Grant was going on during stretches of that game, trying to be, the man. Like
So this was the Sacramento Kings game that you're
That
talking
was
about,
the
right?
Kings game. Yeah. Like
So
they're not
I give
pitching the
JG some
tempo.
credit on this one because Malcolm Brogdon got injured. We weren't prepared to play without Malcolm Brogdon. So I would much rather have JG isolate on Kings players without De'Aaron Fox than let Skylar Mays do it.
No,
So
the
I
problem was Sage, he's not just going one on one. It was literally 1-on-3 and they were swarming him. And there Shaden was easily in his peripheral. Like I 1-on-1, sure. Like I don't even care about Skylar Mays taking that last second shot because one in and out, he was having a decent game, but it was 1-on-1. That's fine. It's these dribbling the ball into oblivion with multiple guys draped on you. Like it's like LaMarcus Aldridge when teams would send a double to him early in his career. He got so flustered, like he had no idea what to do with the basketball. It's kind of a similar situation when defenses see Jeremy Grant with the ball. It's not that he doesn't get flustered. It's just he doesn't see it, doesn't want to see it. He just knows it's JG time and the ball's going up. And to your other point of the Blazers not being prepared to play without Malcolm Brogdon, isn't that an onus on the head coach to get your team prepared for multiple situations?
not during the King. Like you assume that Malcolm Brogdon's going to play, and then he gets the injury, and shit just happens. And so I was curious about JG and his stats because we I think aesthetically it kind of sucks to see him do the isolation on a very set defense. So I took Malcolm Brogdon off the floor, I took Scoot Henderson off the floor, and I took Anthony Simons and Time Lord off the floor. Did you know he is one of the best offensive players in the league efficiency wise with all of those guys off the floor? So in the times where like where we're at injury wise, he's like he's I think like a top 10 efficient offensive player. And then when you put him and Shaden on the floor together, Wemby's the most efficient player, and then Tyrese Halliburton's 2, Jeremy Grant's 3. So I know aesthetically there are plays where it's absolutely horrible to watch because he's east-west dribbles. But when he's north-south, or when he's catching shooting, or when he's trying to create, it's good. And it's really like he and
How big is
Shaden are
that
really,
sample size? Because he's shooting sub 40% on the season, and that's horrendous. That's not efficient.
I mean, let me look. But
Like to me, that's one where like the numbers are lying to me.
I'm just using the times when those guys aren't on the court. So like right now, but I mean, it's 165 possessions. I mean, right. It's every game right now because of how injured we are. Like he's really efficient with his scoring in these times when all these players are off the court. Like Shaden Sharp and he are basically like Dame and Luca with the ball in their hands. So like maybe it's small sample size, but it's a sample size that we have that I mean it isn't going to change for a while where it's Shaden and Jeremy being our like lead guys. So right now, Jeremy should keep shooting, and honestly, Shaden should too. Both of them are really, really efficient with scoring with all of these guys off the floor. So,
I'm fine with Jeremy shooting catch and shoot threes in
yeah,
transition. It's the CJ McCollum special.
I don't think I think that these plays are just so bad that you latch onto them. But
I mean,
if you
I
look at,
literally just watched the tape. Like it was the last thing that I
I know
watched.
you texted me, and that made
Yeah,
me like want to research like what's really going on with this offense, and he
and I
he's
also
he's
think
almost as efficient as Wemby.
the plays are so bad and they're so magnified
Yeah, definitely.
because the Blazers they play boneheaded basketball. Like they are up 4 with 80 seconds left to go against the Kings. They have the ball. What do? They turn it over. Jeremy Grant dribbles the ball off of his leg. They're up 2 with 26 seconds left, and they have the ball. Skylar Mays runs into the teeth of the defense, leaving 14 seconds on the clock. They could have ran the clock down to 4 or 5 seconds without even shooting the basketball. Then they're tied at OT, 116. There's a 2-on-1 fast break. And Mays, instead of making a simple pass or running it back out, tries to throw the most egregious lob to
Yeah,
DeAndre Ayton that
yeah.
I've ever seen, resulting in what, again, another turnover.
We're
Last
a dumb
boneheaded
team,
play,
Dustin. We're a
last
dumb
boneheaded
team.
play, tied it 118. Grant goes 1-on-3. He lost the ball out of bounds. Like I appreciate you for pulling those numbers, but like that's no, I don't think anybody with a like if you're a GM, you say, can you pick like 5 players? Like you could pick 30 players ahead of Jeremy Grant right now. And I'm not trying to pile on him. It's just I think there is a selfishness that I've seen in Detroit, and now it's coming over to Portland with kind of the big dogs who have departed. And I think he's fabulous as a third or fourth guy. It's and I'm sure Chauncey is definitely. I don't think
Yeah,
this is
you know,
all
it's
on
it's
Jeremy.
not Jeremy Grant just
Yes,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
Chauncey is empowering this behavior. He is probably telling him to continue on. So there are plenty of areas for improvement on the Blazers.
Holy
Moving
shit.
so switching gears to Chauncey Billups. Um, this is year 3. He's had a contending team, he's had a star-driven team, and now he's had a young rebuilding team with quote unquote, his guys. But I still think I'm still left wanting more whenever I watch a Coach Billups coached team. There's times in games where he just leaves his challenges and he never uses them. Um, we saw in that second Memphis game we talked about last episode where in the overtime period, Taylor Jenkins just puts DA out in space again and again, and there's no in-game adjustments. This against Sacramento early on, they ran so much action off the curl, and even the announcers were just like, keep running that until Portland stops it, and it would really allow the Kings to stay in the game.
Mhm.
So, are is this who he is, or is there room for him to grow? Like, he's in year 3 or 4 of a contract, obviously as a team option for a 5th year. Um,
No, he sucks. And
yeah,
like we're the most uncreative team offensively. And I think with who you have on your squad, you got to think about being very creative. Scoot Henderson, right this second, cannot shoot a 3-pointer. Matisse Thybulle cannot shoot. I know that statistics are saying that he can, but there's that context that
there's
we
also a
talked
reason
about.
why teams want him to shoot.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
living with that shot.
Exactly. So I don't think that he has the creative juices to create an offense that is good enough to compete. And then defensively, we just get abused and abused and abused by I I mean it kind of feels like we just don't have that dog in us defensively where we just die on screens and then like you put DA on Desmond Bain who's just absolutely on a heater and there's nothing he can do except give up 2 points. So I think that there's a lot of principles we just don't have offensively and defensively. So
You mentioned dying on screens, and I've seen a lot where they are fighting over the screens, and then you've got help come. So let's say it's a classic pick and roll. You've got the guy fighting over the screen. I'm seeing that commitment, but when it comes to the ball handler dumping it off, there is not any help side defense.
no,
There is no weak side help. There's no rotations. There's no talking. It's just like, okay, we made our one move on defense, and we don't know
we're done.
we're done.
Remember when Hassan Whiteside was on our team? I
Yes.
complained about this a lot. He goes to he goes Damian or CJ or one of our guards just lets the guard through penetration wise, and Hassan has to challenge the guard, and then there's no help to get the rebound. I think I see that play a lot where, for whatever reason, the guard gives up penetration directly to him. The center rotates DA, and then nobody helps the helper. It's the same thing. So these guys have played AAU and college and G League and all of these different team like levels of game. Help the helper has been said a million times in every situation. But for whatever reason, on the Trailblazers, we haven't helped the helper that much because there's way more we get happy when we do the right thing defensively, and it hasn't happened that much where we just do everything right. So I just don't think that our coaches have the attention of the players. And if they do have the attention of the players, they're not saying the right fundamental things to get them to play winning basketball in any sort of way. So it's just bad culture. It's like the potential of bad culture with this team because they're just not doing the basic fundamentals that, you know, have been taught from, you know, seventh grade on, where you have to help the helper. If they're helping you, you have to help them play on a string defensively, and it's not even a thing.
Speaking of our bigs, I've been very happy with what I've seen from DeAndre Ayton this year. He's averaging a career high 12.2 boards per game, but we've both discussed the lack of attempts that he's getting. He's shooting a career low 9.6 field goals per game. I mean, he's playing a similar amount of minutes. His point production is down. I think a lot of that has to do with the turnover at guard. We came in expecting all of these guards, and now we're kind of point guardless. We both kind of texted about this. Scoot Henderson returning from injury should really the number one thing I want to see it. And if the coaching staff doesn't do it, I think that's another, I think, red check mark on their kind of report card is get DeAndre Ayton involved. If you look at that Kings game, he had a run at the end of the fourth quarter that should have put the game away. Like he was hitting middies, they were running action for him. And it just seems like every game this year, there's like a 4 or 5 possession stretch where they feed DA and it works, and they just completely go away from it. But I hope that when Scoot returns, he was really developing such a great rapport with him, especially in that Detroit game. The lobs, we're seeing Shaden now running pick and roll action, throwing lobs to him as well. Like, I think that needs to be a emphasis, a priority. If I'm a Blazer coach, like this guy's shooting near 60%. He's mobile and he's dominating glass. Like, let's reward the big fella a little bit more. Like, there's no way he should be averaging under 10 field goal attempts per game.
So
and he's staying out of foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Except for game one, he's staying out of foul trouble.
I just think if I was to talk to DA, I would be like, bro, we just don't have the guards to get you the ball. But when we get Scoot back, you're gonna have a higher usage rate because like he's just not part of our offense. Like essentially, he's just not.
No, he's basically the garbage man right now, and it's really the reason why the Blazers are being as competitive as they are. I believe, they're fourth and second chance points, 16.9.
I would bet most of his attempts are off of hustle plays, like
or offensive rebounds.
Well, that's hustle plays.
Yeah.
Because like if Shaden if JG drives, and then the opposing players box out and or help, and then DA gets the rebound and scores, I feel like that's like the Kobe assist is probably the highest and most efficient way of him scoring right now, just because we can't. It's not like Skylar Mays. He's trying hard, but he's not gonna see the his vision is very direct in front of him. He doesn't really
Skylar Mays' vision is very blurred. Like he
has no periffs.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm not being too hard on Skylar Mays. It's because he wasn't really expected. He was a two-way player. He's not a point guard. He was a two-way player who's now converted to a full-time roster spot because of all of the injuries, and he's doing his best out there. But he's not a point guard. He doesn't see the floor. I don't think he's got the best decision-making skills with the ball in his hands. But yeah, I think even without the point guards, I would love to see the ball put in Shaden's hands a little bit more. I know he needs to work on the handle. I know he loses the ball a little bit too much. It reminds me a lot of, honestly, Marcus Mariota at Oregon, even during his Heisman campaign. Like, he had just a tendency to lose the ball in the pocket, get it stripped easily. Shaden's got to work on that. Again, it could be a product of the thumb injury
and the lack of spacing, honestly.
Yeah, there's just too much upside there for me to not want to see more. Like, I think there is two-man game potential there. Like, you're losing games already. there's no reason not to develop his playmaking chops. And I think he's the best thing about Shaden, he's a willing passer. It's
I
not
think he's one of
something
the only two on our team currently that are.
there's two willing passers because Rob's hurt and Scoot's hurt, so he's the only willing passer.
Well, I think that I forgot who the backup point guard was. Uh, we
On
brought him
Portland,
up from the G. He was a willing passer, but really, it's Shaden. Shaden and Jeremy have to make all the decisions now. I would love it if we ran some more pick and roll, so he can get those reps down. But like when we had a competitive roster, there's a thing in 2K called peeking, where someone sets a screen and then the shooter peeks over the screener and shoots. You saw Shaden Sharp utilize that a lot when we had more spacing. Da would set the screen at the 3, Shaden would move around him and peek it and shoot threes. There's no peaks anymore because of who the fuck are like we're not threatened. The opposing defense is not threatened by who we have on the floor, so they're just gonna blitz Shaden Sharp when he tries to use screens. But I definitely see him trying to peek through all of these screens to shoot. It's just because of who we have on the floor, he can't attempt it because he is the sun and the stars of our offense right now. It's him and Jeremy Grant, and if it's not those two, it's just well, let's just see what happens. I mean, we're gonna make the stop because Skylar Mays isn't a 2 or isn't a 1, so it's like once we get some players back in circulation, I think things will be a lot easier. But right now, it's just we're just rolling the ball out and seeing what happens. There is no structure. There is no schematics. What we're doing offensively and honestly defensively as well. So it's just we're just killing time till at least a few more NBA players are on this team because right now it's very limited on who is an NBA player and who's just happy to be there type of thing.
before we go into a look ahead at this week's slate of games, I'd like to temper some expectations. Not trying to be negative, but Tumani Kamara. When I watch the games, like a lot of times I'm like, oh, Tumani's out there. Like I don't notice him, and he's either stuck in a corner, and then all of a sudden he'll have like a great hustle play. Like I think he's a great hustle player. I think he's working on his defensive chops. I think he's got good length, but you've texted me like he's not really a guy you're going to run offense through.
He has a 4% usage rate.
You're not even getting a lot of 3-point attempts from him.
No, they don't even respect him enough to defend him.
He's taken 8 threes over his last 5 games, including 2 games with not even attempting a single 3. Kind of getting Batum rookie year vibes in terms of I don't think you remember Batum rookie year.
I don't, but I know Batum's talented with the ball in his hands.
He didn't do that though. Like Batum rookie year played the first 5 minutes of the first quarter and the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, and Nate McMillan just put him in the corner, and that's all he did. If he got it's just he was kind of invisible out there, and that's just kind of what I'm getting from Tumani, and just it's not all his fault. Like I don't think if he's not creating if he's not going out there and getting an offensive rebound, he's really not touching the basketball. Like they're not even trying to run like cuts for him to go through, or again, maybe it's coming down the floor space. There's no room to cut, but I think a lot of people are hyped on him, and it's like, okay, that's great that a second-year player or second-round pick is getting a ton of minutes. He's got more minutes than all of other second-round picks combined, and I'm happy that we got him in the Ayton deal, but I need to see a little bit more before I get like too pumped.
I mean, you told me a few weeks ago he might be the shining star of the DeAndre Ayton trade.
He's had some really good moments this year, and for a second-round pick, that's awesome.
It's a very weird thing because I see Trendon Watford in him because of the decision making that he does is real bad sometimes. I know that he knows the rules, but I don't think he actually knows the rules. Where like he'll drop the ball out of bounds on a given play, like just straight up drop it. So it's Trendon at least produced when he was in. I think there's going to be games where Tamani just does the Tony Snell 0-0-0-0-0. So it's I think what he is a low usage rate guy that plays hard, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I would want my low usage rate guy that plays hard to come off the bench and be my eighth man. So
Yeah,
he's
and I
he's
think
also playing in a position where it
that's more
isn't
where
beneficial.
I'm coming from. Is like I don't see small forward of the future vibes. I just see like could totally be a rotation guy, like in great value, getting him in the
I
second
don't
round.
think he's a 3 at all, though. I think he's a 4. You see how
What
he moves? He just has no lateral quickness to his game. Like we saw old man Joe Ingles go by him left and right on him. Like there's a problem when you got a guy that has massive leg injury problems going by you because you can't move laterally. He's really explosive north south. He isn't east west. I think that if he ever plays at his peak, he is a 4 or a 5, not a 3. So we're just putting him in a situation that is so unfair to him because I just don't see the 3 at all. He's just too slow laterally. Like honestly, all of our 3s are too slow laterally. Like Matisse Thybulle, I don't think we've actually said it. He's not a good defender anymore. He tries hard.
Malik Monk was having his way with him.
Yeah, I just think that the only way Matisse hits is if it's a power wing that is the engine of the offense. It is Malik Monks are just going to go crazy on him. It needs to be like a worse version of Jason Tatum, and then I feel confident. But he just doesn't have the East West defense anymore.
Kind of reminds me of when we had Robert Covington and we asked Robert to
Yeah,
fix all of our defensive deficiencies, and Rob was just a really poor on-ball defender, but he was good off-ball, and he was good at deflecting passes, and that's really what Matisse has been beneficial this year. Is like he gets his hands in the passing lanes, gets a couple of steals, he'll disrupt the defense, he'll play a good center fielder.
I feel
But
like he's a strong safety, and we need a corner.
oh, you need someone on Revis Island lockdown.
Yeah. You need Dion, and like I see I see Matisse as Laurent Landry, someone who's real strong, but really doesn't have the moves to really do what he needs to be done. He's a strong safety, and we need some corners. We need some lockdown guys.
And it's okay to have those, free safeties and guys out there who play good off-ball defense, but you have to be surrounded by at least a couple of good lockdown defenders that can make it difficult and throw a lot of wrenches into the opposition's offense. It can't just be like, oh, we have one good off-ball defender, we're all of a sudden going to be a great
Yeah,
defensive
exactly.
team. Like you have to put some pressure on the offense. You have to put some resistance up and make life a little bit difficult. But again, we're talking about it's one of the youngest teams in the NBA dealing with quite a bit of injuries. As we look at the schedule, Sage, the Blazers play tonight in Utah against the Jazz. It is a in-season tournament game for those
Did you hear
who
about the in-season tournament issues?
the courts.
Yeah, like the cameras. Did you hear about the cameras?
Yes, I did. They're
Like
not able to track
any
the
player data.
metrics. Yeah, the player data
Did you
because
see that Dallas isn't going to do it anymore? They're
yeah,
not
they
going to
had
do the
a
specialized court.
malfunction, court
Mm-hmm.
malfunction. Yeah, the courts are a bit much. I actually like all of the trophy decals. Back in the middle part of the 2000s, that's what the NBA Finals had, a big ass trophy in the center of the court.
Oh, Tumani's starting, by the way.
So if you remember the Heat Maverick series, the Lakers Celtics, she's got a big trophy like that. That's dope to me. I just think it's a little garish with the like to do a stripe. Like Milwaukee's court wasn't too bad. As long as I think the more hardwood you have on the wood color, better. A little bit of pop of color. I think they went over
They
above
just
and
went
beyond.
overboard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally cool with the in-season tournament. I'm fine with them making it feel special. It's cool to have a different court to look forward to. Just a little bit too much, a little bit too out there. But Portland will then have a back-to-back tomorrow against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Friday, the Los Angeles Lakers in another in-season tournament. And then Sunday, the Oklahoma City Thunder come to town for our first look at Chet Holmgren. 4 games on the slate. Let's get these quick and dirty. Utah tonight, you said Tumani Kamara is starting.
Starting official.
What's the matchup you're looking for with so many injuries on the Portland side?
Jeremy Grant versus John Collins, who's available to play. I mean, you can't really go guard because Shaden really doesn't have anyone that he has to defend. Like, I guess Jordan Clarkson, but really, John Collins is available to play full minutes. I want to see
Walker Kessler's out.
Oh, so Kelly Oubre would probably play majority of the minutes at
Kelly
5.
Oubre plays for the Sixers.
Other Kelly Olynyk, sorry.
There you go.
Kelly Olynyk will probably play major minutes for the Jazz at the 5. So I guess it's DeAndre and versus Olynyk and John
They're
Collins.
They're starting Keontae George right now.
I saw that.
They're young. They're young and small. They got Keontae at the 1, Ochai at the 2, Jordan Clarkson also in that backcourt, and they've got Collins and Markkanen. I think for me it's going to be daring Utah to shoot from downtown, and I think Portland has to win the paint. Like they're good at second chance points. Like I said, they're 4th in the league. This is a game for me where DeAndre has to get busy, get him the ball, force him the ball, get to the free throw line. DeAndre is averaging 0.3 free throws per game. That's horrendous. That's not all on him, but that shows the lack of.
Would you put Jeremy on Lowry and DeAndre on John?
Oh yeah, you can't have DeAndre unless Will Weaver wants to do pick and rolls and get those switches, which he might.
He probably can, yeah. It's just I think we win this game, but I think Shaden Sharp has to be real precision wise with all of the usage that he gets. So I think the Blazers win versus the Jazz tonight.
I'm gonna go Utah victory. Last game of a long, weird road trip. It's gonna be close. These past few have been close. I just don't know if Portland's gonna. I just don't know if they're gonna be smart enough to give DeAndre the ball. I think talent wise, they're very equal, and playing Utah is probably going to be one of the few games where Portland could escape with a victory. But then we move on to the Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday. Second night of a back-to-back, first game back home. That's going to be pretty tough. What do you look for in that one?
So Garland came back from injury and was limited for the first few games. Now he's playing full minutes. Jared Allen might be on a limited amount of minutes because he also returned from injury, I think around the same game. So I feel like because of limited minutes, Jared Allen, DeAndre Ayton has to win that one-on-one matchup. And Evan Mobley just defensively is amazing to watch. I really enjoy watching him play. The Cavs just are going to out-talent us.
Yeah, I've got the Cavs winning this one. I don't know what Portland does with that backcourt. You're going to have Skylar Mays versus Darius Garland. Like that's
or Donovan
all-star versus two-way. Donovan feels like he could have a 50-point night if he wants to. I'm going to be interested to see who Shaden guards. I want to see him defend without fouling. He's had a tendency to foul when he goes up against
good players,
top tier offensive talent. And I also noticed in that Kings game specifically, he sometimes and it could be a product of fatigue. He has some really dumb fouls, and as one of the major contributors of this Blazer roster with so many injuries, he has to be selective in how aggressive or non-aggressive he is on defense and when to let one go, because he was not available in that overtime period. So how's his stamina going to be on the second night of a back-to-back?
Do you put him on Donovan or do you put him on Max Strus or the three? Karis LeVert.
This is a developmental season. You need to get thrown into the deep end. I want to see how you handle.
With how important he is offensively to us, though.
Yes, because the goal isn't to win this game. The goal is 5 years from now, we're talking about Shaden Sharp, how people talk about Anthony Edwards, right? How people talk about the great two-way wings. Like the only way you get great defensively is by playing the best offensive players. Now, if he gets 2 quick fouls, you don't just, I don't think, continue to throw him out there against Donovan, but you take him, maybe put him on Struce, and then second half, okay, go back, figure out what you did wrong. Like I think you have to let him experience everything, because if he is who we want him to be, he's going to be guarding Donovan Mitchell, and he needs to Donovan Mitchell type players, and he's going to need to figure that out. Like I watched the closing minutes last week of the Timberwolves and Celtics overtime in Minnesota. Anthony Edwards has 5 fouls. Tatum's calling him out, and Anthony Edwards accepted the challenge, and isolation island, when used his arms, used his instincts, got a tie up. Like he wasn't, he's getting that experience right now, how to defend while he's in foul trouble against maybe one of the best offensive players in the league. And there's just no simulation. You can't read about that. You can't watch it. You have to really go in and do it yourself. And so, if he has a crappy game where he's in foul trouble, like, okay, like that's that.
We'll
Then
live with it this year. We'll live with it.
then he has to learn from it, right? Like that's where the development grows. So that's what I'll be looking for. We both have a loss and that one. Lakers come to town on Friday. I mean,
it just
if
happened.
If Anthony Davis is going to attempt more free throws than your entire team, I think it's going to be a long evening on Friday. I think LeBron was a late scratch.
Yeah, he was.
For the game on Sunday, but it just says he's day to day right now. They're still missing Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt. Anthony Davis, of course, day-to-day Davis is day-to-day right now for their game against Memphis. But if they have their full slew of talent, that's going to, they present so much size that is difficult for Portland to match up with.
Oh yeah, and you can't. I mean, I don't feel good about putting DA on AD. So it's even if we were at full strength, we're taking this loss because size matters in basketball, and AD just as a player is just so special right now. So yeah, we lose.
Yep, we used to say like we have Dame and nobody else does, and that's why I'm picking the Blazers to win a game. Well, the Lakers have that card, and they may have 2 of them if LeBron plays as well. Like AD had 30, 13, and 6 with 3 blocks.
It was repeatable too. It
was
on
efficiently 50%
and
shooting.
Repeatable.
Yeah. I don't think we get another 70% outburst from Cam Reddish, but I also don't think you can expect D'Angelo Russell to shoot 36%. They're getting overall from the season good Christian Wood minutes. As Portland lacks bigs, he's somebody who's given us fits in the past.
Yeah, and we just don't have anyone that could defend him for long stretches.
And this is a game like this is a team that if you have Anthony Simons, you have Scoot Henderson who can up the pace, spread the floor.
We could outscore them if we had all of them.
You can outscore, you can get more 3-point attempts up, but like as Portland's currently constructed, we play right into the Lakers' hands because the Lakers they're a very poor 3-point shooting team. They shot 4 of 19 against us, but we did not take advantage in that game.
They just Lakers just want you to drive into Anthony Davis and get blocked.
And Portland's not.
We're really willing to do that right now.
We're not currently set up to kick it out and spread the floor.
Yeah.
With 3-point shooters, we 13 of 37. Like, that's not
Lakers kind of have. I know they don't run a 2-3 zone, but they kind of do. Where
when you have Anthony Davis as that anchor,
just draw everybody to AD. He's gonna block at least half of it, and he's gonna contest or block at least 3/4 of all of these shots.
All right, rounding out this week, and before we wrap up this episode, is a Sunday game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Probably the game I am most looking forward to tuning into. OKC has kind of set the blueprint for all young teams how to build through the draft and accumulate assets, and they are 6-4 currently on the season, and they present also a lot of different challenges. They're one of the most unique teams to prepare for. They've got a large backcourt in SGA and Giddey. They've got Lou Dort, who we talked about is that type of isolation defender. And now they've added Chet Holmgren,
and Jay Will, both of them.
Who is could be a first team all defense as a rookie. Like he's that special. So
are you surprised? Because I'm not.
As a rookie, I'm always surprised when rookies. Well, to be fair, we're 10 games into the season. I want to see how his body holds up over 82. I'm not surprised he's this good. I'm surprised.
This good this early?
Yes. Yeah.
He's just so smart. Like, I think with Evan Mobley being the start of this, like there's these really, really skilled defensive bigs that are just so intelligent they can just take out half of the court defensively. Chet's one of them. Jarris is one of them. Evan's obviously one of them. We're gonna see him like there's just dudes that just map the court out so well defensively. So I saw it in Gonzaga. He's that dude. He has that type of mentality and intelligence to defend. So it doesn't look good for us. I think DA is gonna get into foul trouble because Shea's just gonna drive it on him, and there's no resistance from where Shea drives to DA to protect him from picking up fouls. I think this might be a quick one for DA. Just the relentlessness of Shea Gilgeous.
I think the game plan needs to be what teams do to us, and they just pack the paint. I think we need to pack the paint defensively, and Dort, Giddey, Jay Will, Kassan Wallace, Ousmane Dieng, Aaron Wiggins, like shoot threes. If they go in, tip your hat. Like SGA is the one you don't want to get busy from three. I probably wouldn't give Chet too many looks from three.
Isaiah Joe's the one guy you got to stop.
But for the most part, you can't let Shea and Giddey get downhill, get to the line, throw lobs. You have to clog the paint, and you have to play a little bit of a messy game, I think, to keep this one close. This one concerns me quite a bit just because of what they present in terms of the size and their versatility and all the offenses that they can throw at Portland. And with Portland being such basically a G League plus team right now and having so many new faces, the communication clearly isn't there. We haven't seen a blowout in a while. I'm afraid this one might be one of those just because I just don't know Portland has the horses
I don't think so either
to keep up. Yeah, so fun fact, I don't think I predicted Portland to win one game this year.
Yeah, and that's why I'm ahead by 2 because I have. Well, you said we'd won one Memphis game.
Oh, that's right. And I did say Sacramento. Okay. Yeah. I don't feel too crappy.
I mean, we're not winning against good, smart teams. We're going to win. We beat teams that are just as bad or worse than us.
Yeah. And we also hope the Warriors keep losing. Right now, that pick would be 17 for the Blazers. So more the
did
Warriors
you see how bad Andrew Wiggins is playing?
Yes, he's got
he's the worst small forward.
If there's a worse rebounder at the forward position than Jeremy Grant, it's Andrew Wiggins.
No. Andrew Wiggins is like not good enough to be in the NBA right now.
Dude, he has a 7% rebound rate.
Yeah, he has a usage rate like that is one of his fantasy points per minute, which I know isn't a really good stat, but it's like at 0.4 per minute. It's like he's playing the worst. He's like a G League level player playing with 35 minutes.
All right, Sage, I think that wraps this one up. We will be with you all next week. Hope you all have if we don't see you before the holiday, have a great holiday. But we probably will because we are degenerates who love Portland Trail Blazers basketball.
All right, we are available on iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere where you get a podcast. We are there. We're also available on YouTube where you can watch the video fully. And then we are available on Instagram. And we are on TikTok as well. TikTok handle is TheSageHB. So check us out. We're available. And NCAA is happening. So be prepared for some future Fridays. So I know there's some games that I really want to watch that are going on right now. So peace out, everybody. Later. All right, man. I will talk to you later. Bye. Bye.